Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now with this blanket I'm using a UK 5mm crochet hook and the yarn I'm using is this Karen Simply Soft. It's called Robin Egg. It's really pretty. It's a beautiful shade of blue as well. Now I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm in the midst of making this blanket, but I thought I would show you it because it's really pretty. It's made up of sections of 4 treble crochets. We've got our little loops here. I've got little loops on the bottom as well. Now the one thing that you need to remember with this blanket, you need an odd number of loops. When you make the loops, it doesn't matter how big you make this blanket, you can make it as big as you want, but you need an odd number so that you start with a cluster and you finish with a cluster on your first row, and it keeps the pattern symmetrical and it's built up like brickwork. It's a nice lacy pattern, so it's really pretty for shawls, for scarves. You can even make some hats and things. It's pretty for blankets as well. You can do anything with it. Make a poncho, make a square blanket, make a big long blanket with it. It's really pretty. Now you'll get smaller stitches obviously if you use a smaller hook, but I'm using a UK 5mm hook. So I'm going to do a little sample of this blanket and I'm going to start the edge with little loops. It makes the edge nice and pretty. So I'm going to do my slip knot. I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2 and 3. Now wind your yarn around your hook twice like this and go into that bottom stitch, into that very first stitch that you made. Pull your yarn through, might be a little bit tight, yarn over, come through 2 loops, yarn over, come through 2 loops, and yarn over and come through 2 loops. So you've made your first loop like this. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Don't do it too tight. Yarn over your hook twice. Now you can see these 2 stitches, there's one here and one here. It looks like a V stitch, there's a V here. Put your hook through those 2 stitches and pull your yarn through, and that's going to lock your next loop in. Yarn over and come through 2 loops, yarn over, through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops, and you've made yourself another loop. Now you need an odd number of loops. 1, 2, 3, yarn over twice and go through those right at the bottom of your chain. Go through those 2 stitches. You've got 2 stitches on your hook. Yarn over and pull it through, and that's going to lock your loop in. So yarn over and through 2 loops, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops, then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you make the amount of loops that you want for your blanket, but please make sure it's an odd number of loops. You want to keep your blanket symmetrical. So I've made 7 loops. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So what we're going to do, we're going to slip stitch into the first loop, just so we're starting in the loop, and we're going to put 4 treble crochets into this first loop. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3, that counts as your first treble crochet. So yarn over and do 3 more treble crochets into that same loop. So that's 1, 2 and 3. So your chain there makes the 4th one. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. You're going to chain 1 into the next loop, put 1 treble crochet. So yarn over and do 1 treble crochet. Chain 1 and into the next one you're going to put 4 treble crochets. You're going to do that all the way along your loops. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1 and then 1 treble crochet into the next one. Chain 1 and then put a cluster of 4 into this next one. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1, put 1 treble crochet into the next one, chain 1 and finish with a cluster of 4. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Your fourth one in. So now you're going to chain 1 and turn. So chain 1 and turn your work. Now into this very first stitch, put 1 double crochet. And if you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. Now you're going to chain 3 over to this space here. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Skip your cluster and do a double crochet into that chain space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and put a double crochet into this chain space. And if you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet into the chain space. You're going to do that all the way along. And this is going to create your loops for your next set of stitches. So chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and double crochet into the chain space that's there. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip that one and go into that chain space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3 into the chain space, and you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to go into the top of that chain that's there and do a double crochet just to lock that down. Oops. So just go into the top of that chain space. If you can get in there, there we go. Pull through. And this is what you have on your little sample. These are your loops for your next clusters. We're going to put the cluster above this one here. So we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That counts as a treble crochet and a chain 1. Now turn your work. Now into this space here, you're going to put a treble crochet. Chain 1 and we're going to move to this space that's above this one. Into this chain space you're going to put your cluster in. Put 4 treble crochets into this chain space here. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1 and move to the next one. Now above the cluster you're going to put 1 treble crochet. Chain 1 and move to the next one. So we're alternating this. So on here you've got your treble crochet, your cluster, your treble crochet. The row below is your cluster, a treble crochet and a cluster. So we're going to stagger that cluster. We'll be putting them above that treble crochet there, and above the cluster you'll have a single treble crochet on its own. Remember the chain one space as well. So remember the chain one. So into this one we're going to put a cluster above this single treble here. So your cluster is 4 treble crochets. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1, then treble crochet into the next chain space, chain 1, and we're going to put a cluster on the top of this one. So it's going to stagger the pattern. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now you're going to chain 1 and into this chain space put 1 treble crochet. Chain 1, now remember your chain ones, and into that little double crochet there you're going to put a treble into that little stitch that's there. You go to chain 1 and turn, and into that stitch there do a double crochet right into that very first stitch. Now we're going to put a chain in again, and this is the 2 rows you'll keep repeating. You'll put that chain row in, then you'll do a cluster row. So it's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then double crochet into the chain space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip over your skip over the cluster and do your double crochet into the chain space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, into the next chain space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet into the next chain space. So you're making your little chains again, your little loops all along your blanket. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. These are the 2 rows that you'll keep repeating, and you'll keep staggering your cluster. So the next clusters are going to go above this treble crochet here. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip that cluster. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So when you get to this chain, count 1, 2, 3 and go into that third stitch in that chain. Pull through, and there we go. And this is what you've got. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's your first treble crochet. We're going to put another 3 treble crochets in here. We're putting a cluster in because we're above a single stitch here. So that counts as your first, that chain counts as your first treble crochet. So that's your second one. 3 and 4. Chain 1 and move to your next loop. You're going to put a treble crochet. Just 1 treble crochet. Chain 1, move to your next loop, and you're going to put a cluster in. Every time you're at a single stitch here, you'll put a cluster above it. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Chain 1 and then treble crochet into this one. So every time you're at a cluster, you get a single one above it, and every time you're at a single treble crochet, put a cluster above it, and that is going to stagger your pattern. And turn, and you're going to do your little loops again. So right into the very first stitch, put a double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and double crochet into the chain space. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet into the next chain space, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet, 1, 2, 3, all the way along, 1, 2, 3, and we're going into the chain spaces. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going into the top of that chain. Do your double. So we're going to chain 4. So we need to put a single treble in there. So we need to chain 4. That'll be our treble crochet. That'll count as your treble crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that counts as your treble crochet and your chain 1. Now into there we're going to put a treble crochet. Chain 1. So we've got a single underneath, so we need to put a cluster on the top. And that is how you work it. That is how you work this little blanket. It's just every second row you'll have your chain and then your treble and then your cluster. And then you'll have your cluster, your treble, your cluster. And that is what you keep repeating to get this really pretty stitch. I'll show you my blanket again. So this is my blanket. Now what you'll do is you'll just finish on a loop row. So I need to put a little loop row on here, and that's how you'll finish it. And that'll keep the top the same as the bottom with the little loops on it. So I've got one row to do and I'll finish on my loops. I'll leave loops. Now you can go down the side and put some clusters in this section, then do a treble crochet, put a cluster into this section here, then do one treble crochet and put a cluster in, put one of these clusters in. So you can work that pattern down the side to neaten up the side, but you don't really need to do that. And this is what you get this really beautiful little cluster pattern, and it looks like brickwork. Give this a try. It's really pretty and it's very quick as well. Do it in any colour, do it in any yarn that you like. Now if you haven't already, then please click on the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel, and if you click on the bell icon, then YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.